criminal law, but also DUI defense. Michael Leader has dedicated his entire practice to the art of defeating DUI and criminal cases for a period of time. The criminal and DUI defense law firm of Leader & Leader PA has a remarkable track record. They develop a close working relationship with each of their clients prior to deciding how to proceed with your case in order to tailor the approach and defense to each individual client and their needs. They are always available to their clients. At Leader & Leader, they offer every type of criminal defense, including DUI, federal drug charges, white-collar crime or fraud cases, theft offenses, violations of probation or early termination, and all other criminal matters from investigation to trial. Let the criminal and DUI law firm of Leader & Leader PA explore all of your options. Call them today at 954-523-2020. That's 954-523-2020. Or go to their website at criminallawleader.com. Do not take chances when it comes to your freedom or the possibility of jail or prison time. Free in-office or telephone consultations for all criminal matters. Do not hesitate. Call the Criminal Law Leader today. 954-523-2020.
And we're back live in studio today. You know, this is holiday time. People are driving, they're going to parties.
That's right.
New Year's Eve. And this is just the perfect day to have one of Florida's top. He's a criminal attorney, but he's like really,
I'm not a criminal.
No, he's not a criminal.
But he specializes in DUI. Right.
So, you know what? We might scare you a little bit today, but maybe you'll be alive after the holidays. This is the Ask the Expert show where we bring on.
And you want to stay out of jail for the holidays as well.
Yeah, which is better than one of the local judges. Let's welcome our friend Michael Leader with Leader & Leader Law Firm. And
welcome to the show, Michael.
It's so good.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's an honor and privilege to be part of your show.
Sucking up now.
He doesn't have to.
No. So listen, we just saw where this judge, Cynthia Imparato.
Her too.
Yeah, Cynthia Imparato. She's a former police officer, former statewide prosecutor. Excellent judge.
Okay.
Excellent judge. Great lady. I've known her well. I've known her for a long time, and I was pulling for her. Obviously, I wasn't there that night. I don't know what happened, what didn't happen. I can't comment on her guilt or innocence. Regrettably for her, a jury came back and found her guilty approximately an hour ago. And what's a little bit unusual is it appears from what I've read, and I don't know, I haven't confirmed anything of this. I only know right now what the news is reporting, that she was convicted of both reckless and DUI, which is a little bit unusual for them to proceed to trial on both counts. There's also going to be issues in the case whether or not the fact that she was a judge should have ever come out. Judge Easy was the judge on the case. He's a county court judge in Palm Beach. He's definitely known for being more state-oriented. But I have respect for the man. I wouldn't ever say it would just be improper to say anything negative about a judge in terms of I respect the position, even if I don't always respect the person. I happen to have respect for Judge Easy in the position and the person. I will say that if I were the judge in that case, I don't know that I would have made the same ruling. I think the fact that she's a judge was profoundly more prejudicial than probative to the case, which is what the court's supposed to weigh in making those decisions. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on an appellate level.
How would you do it different? I mean,
but wait a second, wasn't this a jury that made the decision?
Jury made the decision about the case. They didn't decide what they got to hear. I don't think they should have ever heard that she was a judge. I don't think it was really relevant enough to the case.
Could they have found out, though?
Well,
I mean, they're not sequestered or anything.
No, but theoretically, they are asked in jury selection. They're probably told not to read newspapers and stories.
Okay.
They were only there they were picked for the jury one day. Trial was the next day, and then so they've only been there a total of, basically 3 calendar days. So it's not like this long period to keep them away from the media.
So you think it influenced the jury, the fact that she was a judge?
I wasn't there, but I think that. Yes, I think people hold police officers and judges to a higher standard. When the eyes of the law for a criminal proceeding, they should be treated like everybody else.
No, I agree.
And I think it makes it impossible for that to happen when they keep on referring to her and talking about her being a judge during that trial. So with all due respect to Judge Easy, I have great respect for, I don't agree personally with that ruling. I wouldn't have made that ruling. If I were the judge, I'm sure he had his thoughts, feelings, and reasons that he made it, and I'm sure he would stand behind it. And greater minds have differed on bigger issues than this. So I personally think if I were the judge in that case, I would have ruled differently on that issue. What's going to happen on appeal? Who knows? I saw that the state was asking for 30 days jail. Whether or not what he's ruled at this point sentencing wise, or whether or not he's going to pronounce sentence. Technically, they're supposed to pronounce sentence forthwith on misdemeanors, however, meaning immediately. I'm sure that they'll post a bond. They'll ask for what's called a supersedeas bond, meaning a bond pending appeal, so she won't have to serve the sentence. It would not be out of the ordinary for the judge to grant that. So that will be that with that case. We'll see what happens on appeal. I wish Judge Imparato all the best because, like I said, I think she's a good woman. I think she's a good judge. And
no, it's a shame, but this is not her first offense, as you said.
Right, just because she had a prior offense, so it doesn't mean that she's guilty this time. And it doesn't even mean that she was necessarily guilty last time. You know, I understand a lot of times people think where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe she was guilty of both offenses. Maybe she wasn't guilty of either. Maybe she was younger at the time and, you know, it was her best interest to take a quick plea and get it done with instead of fighting it. I don't know. But I will say that she'll now have a bigger issue. She's going to have to deal with the judicial qualification issues in terms of whether she keeps her seat as a judge. And I'll keep my fingers crossed because, candidly, as much as I think if people make mistakes, that, you know, whether they're judge, police officer, everyday citizen, doctor, lawyer, doesn't matter who you are, garbage handler, you know, everybody should be treated the same.
Does the judge have a law license?
In Florida, you have to be a lawyer to be a judge.
Okay, do you want to tell people how to watch the show today?
Well, I was going to say, listen, if you ever, and you never know, might need a criminal attorney, especially DUI attorney. If you'd like to see what your attorney is going to look like, go to www.criminallawleader.com and let us introduce you to Michael Leader.
Okay, and if you also have a question for Michael Leader, you could call on the show at 888-565-1470.
And likewise, if not during the show, 954-523-2020. I'm available 24/7. For emergency situations. If you just have a question and it's not an emergency, I prefer you call during 8:30 to 5:30 on regular business days instead of 3 in the morning. But we do free consultations. Anybody has a question, issue, problem, they're welcome to call me anytime. I'm happy to talk to them, whether it's in the office or on the air. And I'll just finish up the Judge Imparato thing with saying that I wish her the best. I really hope she continues to serve on the bench. She's been a great judge, and it's an unfortunate situation. So the best to her and her family.
Wow,
absolutely.
Nice.
So tell everybody a little background about your law firm.
We are a predominantly criminal defense firm. There are different things that come across our office, and there are other attorneys that we work with. So there are some other areas that we'll get involved with covering. But me personally, the bulk of my practice is state and federal criminal defense work. But I was recruited out of the state attorney's office by what once considered the most preeminent DUI defense firm in the country. I was trained by the guy that basically created DUI defense. So I think that has played a part in the results that I get and the work that I do. In my humble opinion, there are a handful of lawyers throughout the state that really can handle DUIs and spot issues and identify problems and do a better job on the cases than the average criminal defense lawyer. Now, there are a lot of lawyers that are phenomenal criminal defense lawyers, but because they may not have the same experience and background in DUI as me and some of the other guys that have similar backgrounds, similar experiences, in my opinion, that the guys that do the bulk of the DUI work may be more likely to spot issues or find a way to beat your case that a great criminal lawyer who's a great lawyer may not identify, only because there's issues in DUI that don't exist in any other areas of law. So DUI makes up a large portion of my practice. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it, and a half hour is not nearly enough time because I could talk about it all day.
Cases today.
Yes,
and you know what? Every time we do the show with Michael, I'm telling you, I've got pages left that we haven't
of questions that we want to ask you. We never get to.
This is my favorite show to do. I mean, we don't want anybody to be arrested or anything, but let me tell you something. Hopefully what you're going to learn from the show, don't try to do this by yourself. Secondly, there's a lot of lawyers out there. Some of them practice in 7 different areas. Michael just does criminal law.
And especially with the holidays coming up, as Steve-O said previously, this is a big time for people going to parties and New Year's parties and Christmas Eve, and you don't realize how much alcohol you consume. Or even if you have a glass, it actually hits people differently. Or when you take a breathalyzer, some people don't realize if somebody's pouring a drink at a party, how much they're actually drinking.
And, it's funny, going back to the Judge Imparato thing, and we're talking about This is a professional. She's a judge that left apparently had left a professional event,
Right.
where they had served some drinks. So she was mingling, interacting with other lawyers on a professional level, not out partying, not out getting drunk.
At the restaurant we're going to tonight.
So well,
of
there
all
you go.
places.
So
yeah.
So, you know, the point is, it's not people that are necessarily going out and partying. You could be at a professional happy hour, a firm holiday party, whatever, a business holiday, lunch, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
And you have one or two drinks and you feel fine. The problem is, I've explained to you guys before, and the number one thing that people don't understand is a drink in terms of DUI is a measured amount. An ounce of liquor, a bottle of beer, 8 to 12 ounces, 5 ounces of wine. So now restaurants have gone to these giant balloon wine glasses where you could easily have 8 to 10 ounces if they really are
Take a
generous
bath
with the
in it.
pour. And you in your mind had 2 glasses, but you technically had 3 to 4 drinks. The bigger problem is with mixed drinks. If you don't pour it yourself, you don't see it poured, you don't know how many ounces of liquor are in there. So in your mind, you had 2 drinks, you had 2 glasses. But those 2 glasses could have been tantamount to 6 to 8 drinks.
So for all intents and purposes, you're feeling fine, but then you go drive, and God forbid you get pulled over.
And I'll tell you, from my training experience, if you're over the legal limit, you would generally, the average person that doesn't have a high tolerance or doesn't drink a lot, the average person, if they're over an 08, the legal limit in Florida, I would think that they would feel the effects of alcohol to some level, the most people. Nevertheless, you know, the bottom line is, if you have any question, as much as I would love to be your lawyer and represent you, I would be much happier to see you not get arrested, not need me, not need the grief, aggravation, headaches, the thousands upon thousands of dollars it's going to cost you, either for a good legal representation or in court costs and fines. The fines in DUI can be thousands of dollars, plus the probation, all the other things you have to do.
So tell people the ramifications, because
Wait a minute, before you say anything, you have created a monster. Now, when Renee talks to her friends, she says, now you got to be kidding. Just because you only have one drink, you might think you're fine, but you
and
might
then give out your phone number.
Yeah, well, look, I got to tell you, it wasn't because of alcohol related, but I used Uber for the first time when I sold the car and my wife couldn't pick me up, so I had to get home. It's a great service. I don't know if they're going to stay around because the legal ballots are getting into. But man, it is a cool service. Taxi cabs or professional drivers, red cap. You have so many options, and I don't care if it costs $150, which would be highly unusual. It is so much cheaper than what you will deal with if you have a legal problem. God forbid you get hurt, somebody else gets hurt. I just urge everybody, especially during this holiday season, for people that don't normally drink and there's a holiday party or this or that being poured or given out, and you just have one, you just have 2. Don't take the chance. Get a ride, pick up your car tomorrow, whatever it may be.
Have a
I urge
designated
everybody.
driver.
That's always a great option. Make sure your designated driver is
Doesn't
being
drink.
mindful of being the designated driver.
Right.
But yeah,
And you're
folks, I
seeing
can't
a
urge
lot
you
of
enough.
people who are getting hit just right down here by cars and getting killed, and the driver was intoxicated.
I've handled all types of criminal cases as a prosecutor and defense lawyer, and there's no worse case than DUI manslaughter, because in most instances, the defendant is a good person from a good family with little or no criminal history, doesn't belong in jail or prison, and now 2 lives are ruined, destroyed. The person charged and the person who's dead, the family that they lost or that
It's
lost
horrific.
them.
It really is.
It's just a nightmare, and you just don't ever want to be in that situation, which is why I urge you. 2 cases that I'm involved with right now in DUI manslaughters. My client wasn't even at fault for the accident. Somebody else basically was at fault, and they're still the ones that are being charged because there was a blood alcohol content alleged to be involved on the part of my clients. And these 2 particular cases, the guys were on motorcycles in both cases. Had the adverse drivers been in a car, it would have been a minor crash.
Heard about that.
Would have been a minor crash, but they weren't. And now it's a major problem. My clients are looking at 15 years in prison with a
Those are
Oh
your
my
clients?
God.
Well, I don't know which case you're talking about, but
I saw where 2 people got killed on motorcycles.
yeah, I don't have one where there's 2 motorcycle
this
fatalities,
was
but
2.
one of them was in Miami, and this particular client elected, we got the deal down instead of the 4-year minimum mandatory. We were able to get it down to 2.5 years. She did have a triable case with motion. She had a tough judge. She had a new baby, and for her own personal reasons, as much as we were ready, armed, and willing to go to trial, fight the motions, she elected to take a substantially lower deal than what would typically, the case started out where there was a concern of the offer being around 8 years.
Wow.
So because she can now go in and get out before her child ever remembers it, that's what she decided to do for herself. So that case just resolved. I worked with another lawyer on that case who was phenomenal as well. I have a case, DUI manslaughter right now in Broward, though, where it's a motorcycle. My client, I do not believe, was at fault for the accident at all. The accident reconstruction work was atrocious. The state's not even going to try to get in some of it. They've agreed that don't even file your motion. We'll agree to keep some of this stuff out. And we have some blood motions filed in January. We'll see if we can get the blood excluded. If the blood goes away, my client they won't be able to move forward with the case. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But it's going to be tough arguments with a judge who's fair but tough. And we'll see what happens. But, client's a good guy, good family, good people. And I would hate to see his life destroyed as well, especially since I really don't think he had anything to do with the cause of the accident. I think the motorcycle rider, and as much as I'm sorry to see that he was hurt and passed away, I think he was really fully at fault for his own injuries and death in that crash. So, it is what it is. Unfortunately, the DUI manslaughter component is very small. All
right,
it
so
has
if
to
that
be,
wasn't a factor, if the drinking wasn't a factor, it would have been a whole different ballgame.
But take the drinking away. You only have to cause or contribute to the cause. So you don't just have to be the one that caused the accident. If they can hook in there that there's anything you did at all that even remotely contributed to the cause of the accident, you're on the hook for DUI manslaughter, not just DUI.
Wow.
So it's serious. And the penalties on a first offense DUI in the state of Florida include a court cost, which some counties run $600+, a fine that could be on a first offense anywhere from $100 to $500 to $2,000, DUI school with follow-up sessions and counseling, which costs you money, probation 6 months to a year, license suspension 6 months to a year, plus an administrative suspension for 6 months or a year.
And that's for your first offense.
Yeah, and I haven't even gotten to, there's 50 hours community service, there's interlock device on your vehicle, mobilization of your vehicle, all at your own expense. The probation, they charge you $75, $80 a month. So you add all this stuff up, and you're approaching $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 very quickly.
How many
on a
people
first
look
offense.
back and go, was that one drink or those two drinks worth all this?
Well, the funny thing is, I have a very high tolerance to alcohol. So after speaking with you, now I'm really cognizant of the fact that even if I have a drink or two,
She's even using bigger words
yes,
now, too.
I will not drive even if I have a drink, because you've actually scared me.
Well, and I think it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yes,
so I'm glad
I agree.
you're
Totally
going that
agree.
way.
We're going to go to break. God, I hate to go to break, but we got to go to break. We come back. I want to talk about some of your cases.
Sure.
Because what do you have, like a magic wand or something?
He does.
Just work hard,
Amazing.
and I'm very diligent. I don't stop fighting.
And
for my clients.
passionate. So we'll be right back with more with Michael Leader of Leader & Leader Law Firm, and we're going to talk about some of his past cases, and hopefully we can scare you a little bit, so maybe you won't have that extra drink over the next couple weeks. We'll be right back.
When you need an aggressive, experienced, and knowledgeable criminal or DUI defense attorney, turn to the law firm of Leader & Leader, PA. With nearly 80 years of combined experience, Michael D. Leader is a former prosecutor with considerable experience, not just in all areas of criminal law, but also DUI defense. Michael Leader has dedicated his entire practice to the art of defeating DUI and criminal cases for a period of time. The criminal and DUI defense law firm of Leader & Leader, PA has a remarkable track record. They develop a close working relationship with each of their clients prior to deciding how to proceed with your case in order to tailor the approach and defense to each individual client and their needs. They are always available to their clients. At Leader & Leader, they offer every type of criminal defense, including DUI, federal drug charges, white-collar crime or fraud cases, theft offenses, violations of probation or early termination, and all other criminal matters from investigation to trial. Let the criminal and DUI law firm of Leader & Leader, PA explore all of your options. Call them today at 954-523-2020. That's 954-523-2020. Or go to their website at criminallawleader.com. Do not take chances when it comes to your freedom or the possibility of jail or prison time. Free in-office or telephone consultations for all criminal matters. Do not hesitate. Call the Criminal Law Leader today, 954-523-2020.
Who's home with you?
And we're back. God, this show goes by so fast.
It does.
Love doing this show. We're here with attorney Michael Leader, the Leader & Leader Law Firm, our criminal attorney. Listen, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's a friend.
Criminal
Maybe-
and DUI
Oh,
attorney.
criminal
Yes.
and DUI. You do expungement?
Seal and expunge. Yep.
Wow.
We do it all.
He
We
does
do
it all. He does it all. But again, if you're drinking over the holidays, try not to drive. And if, God forbid, you do drive and something happens, Michael, give your phone number out.
Yes.
954-523-2020. And I'll tell you, if you get involved, you get pulled over, be polite, be respectful. But, you know, I don't have a lot of faith in those roadside exercises personally. If you feel you can do them and you can do them well, that's a call you got to make for yourself. I can't tell you. I would probably personally decline to do those because I've had an officer administer them to me in my office when I was completely sober, and he laughed, said he would have taken me to jail. So I don't have a lot of faith in them personally. I know that there are people that would argue till they're red in the face with me. Everybody has a different perspective. And, you know, as far as giving a breath test, you got to use your own judgment. There's no guaranteed right answer. If I thought I was going to blow over, I would probably not blow.
And what happens if you refuse?
Well, you'll get an administrative suspension you could face an administrative suspension for 1 year on first offense, for 18 months and a second refusal. However, I cannot tell people to refuse a breath test because I would be advising them to break the law potentially. Because if they've previously refused a breath test and now this is the second time, I'd be advising them ahead of time to break the law, and I can't do that. But plus, I think it's bad advice to give people blanket advice to always refuse because, Steve, if you went out and had a steak dinner and you had one bottle of beer with your dinner, the officer pulls you over for going through a yellow that turned red and smells the odor of alcohol and says, oh, I think you're impaired, blah, blah, blah. One thing turns into another, and he asks you to blow. There's no reason with one bottle of beer with a steak dinner you shouldn't be given a breath test because there's not even a question. There's no way, unless the machine's faulty or defective, which could happen, I guess, you're not going to blow over. You know, it's when you have this lack of certainty that it becomes a tougher decision to make. And that's
So
why
I would just assume that most people that don't want to take the breathalyzer have had a couple of drinks.
Not always. I got to tell you, I've had
Really?
clients that would have passed it, no doubt in my mind, but for other reasons, they were upset. They were arrested already. They weren't going to be unarrested. They felt they were treated unfairly. They've read news stories and articles about all the problems with these machines and how they could be faulty and not accurate, and they've just not trusted them. So I have people that I genuinely believe if they'd blown would have blown over, but refused to blow for various reasons. So
And then nothing would have happened to them.
Well, they still would have been, they weren't going to be unarrested, but the charges may have been declined if they were under an 05.
Right.
So, and then they may ask for urine, and there's a whole lot of other things that go with it. And do they have right cause to ask for urine, or what, reasonable cause to ask for it? So there's a lot of factors, which is why I don't believe in people say, oh, what do you do, blow or refuse? I don't believe in blanket advice on that. I just say that if
use your own discretion, basically.
If I were in that situation and I thought that I was going to blow over, I would probably decline personally, but I can't give people blanket advice.
There's going to be a lot of roadside stops over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
aren't there?
checkpoints have to be advertised. And
they do?
Yeah, by law, and there's a bunch of guidelines they have to follow. And we've had great success in beating a lot of the checkpoint cases. There's a lot of technical issues and legal arguments that a lot of average criminal defense lawyers that just do some DUI here and there may not know as well. Which is why I think somebody that does a lot of DUI is always advantageous when you're faced with one.
Like yourself.
Like myself.
Yes.
But we've had great success with a lot of our checkpoint cases over the years, and there's a lot of technical issues you got to go into. But you had said you wanted to ask me about...
I'm going to change the question around. I went to Michael's website. He's got maybe 15 or 20 cases that he's done successfully representing his client. But you know what? Since we're talking about DUI today... Tell us like 2 or 3.
Well, first of all,
that are maybe in the last couple of months even.
There are hundreds, and I can't list them all.
Right.
So there's some on the website. I'm actually in the process of doing a rewrite of a lot more current ones because there's tons more. But I can tell you that 2 recent ones I'm very proud of. They were long, hard fights, probably 3+ years, which is not normal on a state felony case that's not a dead body case. One of them, my client had no priors whatsoever, nicest kid in the world, tiny little guy, about 5'8", maybe 140 pounds. And he was effectively homeless. They were living out of a storage unit. They found an ad on for this job doing ice cream delivery for a very disreputable company that I don't think very much of, but I won't name them to be kind. And this guy was getting them to come and work and then creating BS when it was time to pay them. And it seems like there was a cycle that he'd bring them in. Once they worked 2 or 3 weeks and didn't get paid and left, he would just bring in new people. And it seems like this guy was hosing a lot of people out of hard-earned money that they should have been owed. So my client got into an argument. The guy that owns the place is, like 6'4", 280 pounds, brags about beating people up and former employees and breaking kneecaps and carrying a gun and has a knife on his belt.
Oh, very nice.
And my client and him got into a verbal disagreement because my client was telling a new person that was coming, don't work here, it's a scam, it's BS. And the owner came over, yelling at him, I'm going to kick your this, I'm going to break your knees. And my client kept on saying, stay away, stay away. The guy kept on coming at him. My client finally pulled out a lawful licensed handgun that he was permitted to carry. And in fact, this guy had suggested, according to him, that he carry it because some of the routes he goes on are in dangerous neighborhoods. Long story short, my client gets charged despite the fact that there are witnesses that corroborate his story. It's a 3-year minimum mandatory because of the gun charge. So he's looking at 3 years minimum mandatory of prison, never been in trouble in his life. And thankfully, we are able to win one of the 2 counts on stand your ground. We had a stand your ground motion. We won that, and then
You want to stand your ground?
we did.
Well, it's
Wow.
big. It's big here in South
and then
Florida.
we
Yes.
had to really fight to get the state to drop the other count. And 2 weeks ago, finally, they announced the null process of the remaining count. My client is now free and clear of all of these charges.
That's
and,
wonderful.
This is why I do what I do. This guy's life would have been destroyed over
Absolutely.
doing nothing wrong. He was standing there waiting for the police, waving them down when they got there because he thought he was the one in the right.
Exactly.
I have another case recently. 2 girls are in a car out in Pembroke Pines at the Hooters. They're in the parking lot having a discussion. An officer happens to see them. He's in plain clothes. In his mind, I think he thinks, it's 2 people outside in a parking lot at a restaurant. They must be out there to do drugs.
Right.
So he immediately approaches them, gives them orders, does things that we argued were illegal. He changes the story around from what our clients are telling us. We end up in a long 3-day evidentiary hearing, 3+ years into this case. Thankfully, we ended up winning. The co-defendant was facing 25-year minimum mandatory.
Oh, my
client,
God.
a 15-year minimum mandatory. And ultimately, the judge agreed with us that the officer's conduct was not lawful in the way he got him out of the car, the way the search ensued. All the evidence was thrown out. The state ended up dropping all the charges.
Wow.
But they were not giving up. My client had tons of mitigators, never been in trouble, medical problems, young child. They would not agree to give her a non-jail, non-prison offer. I have to say, the head of the drug trafficking unit towards the end of the case, when I got him involved, was very reasonable with me, and I appreciate it. We agreed that we would go forward with the motion, see what happened, and then he and I would have a talk if it didn't work out. So my hat's off to him. He was a gentleman about it. The case worked out, in my opinion, the way it should have. But again,
You hung in there.
life-changing result.
Long
That
time.
is
I didn't
why.
continue fighting for my client all the way to the end, and that's the other problem. A lot of lawyers just, when it's not easy, they give up too quickly.
That's
I
why
just
you
want
got
to
to
say
call.
this
Okay,
because we're running
our
out of time. I want to say this is so important. The average man, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
He saves lives. He
So,
really does.
I mean, you think, well, hey, I'm not a criminal, but a lot of people
You never
aren't
know.
criminals. So listen, write this number down because you never know when you're going to need an attorney, especially Michael Leader.
So give your phone number again.
954-523-2020 and www.criminallawleader.com. I wish all of you a very safe, happy, healthy holiday season, and thank you. And
I love
same
your
to you guys.
passion, bro. I love your passion. We will be back again on Monday with more Ask the Experts. Michael's with us every month. What we got to do
Thanks,
is
Michael, for
we
coming
kind of
on.
have to have the same kind of date every month so people know when he's going to be coming on. And
It's always on my website, though. They can check out my
Yeah.
website. They'll see when I'm going to be
you
on
can
air.
watch
Perfect.
today's show. Look, I've still got 5 pages left. Anyhow, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Put the bottle to the side. But if you don't,
Call Michael Leader.
Leader and Leader. We'll see you on Monday. Peace and love.
We're out.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show with Steve-O and Renee. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored